Hello, my name is Chloe and welcome to my channel, Read with Chloe. Today I'll be addressing these books here. These are 10 books from my physical TBR. If you've been here before, you know my physical TBR is really long, more than 80 books, and that I'm a mood reader, so I have a bit of an issue trying to stick to my TBR. I thought today I'd go through these books and read their opening line and rate them in order based off their opening line. And from that, possibly use that as a way to determine which books that I'll be reading off of my TBR. Some of these are some random books that I bought recently. Some are ones that have been sitting on my shelf for a long time. I've also tried to pick out a few different genres so that when the mood reading strikes, I've got something here that will suit my mood. I saw Jack Edwards doing a video of this a while ago and thought it was a really cute and cool, interesting thing to do. So I guess shout out to his video for that. And he did one, I think, for the closing lines as well, which I have an issue of. If I was to do that, I'm pretty sure I'd remember every single line that I'd read and then spoil every single one of the books for me. So I don't think I can do that version, as much as that was really fun to do. But the opening lines doesn't really give anything away. I'm going to be opening the book and reading that first line whenever I pick it up anyway. So without further ado, let's go through the 10 books that are here on my TBR and rank them based off of their opening lines and see what the final product looks like. You guys should play along too. If there's any of these that you've read that you think I should prioritise, not based off their opening line, but maybe because they get better than that, do let me know and I'll probably end up prioritising based off of that, and play along too and see which ones you would put in which order and see if they end up the same as mine. So the first one is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Can't believe I've still not read this book. It has been all over BookTube and Bookstagram and BookTok for the longest time, and I've picked it up and I've still not read it. It does sound very interesting to me, the concept of the book, but that's not what matters here. We're forgetting all of that and only focusing on the first line. So, chapter 1. New York City, March 10, 2014. That's just the chapter name, so I'm not gonna, but you know, we need that. We need the context. The girl wakes up in someone else's bed. That was anticlimactic. Well, I guess technically it's number 1 and also number 10 currently, because there's nothing to compare it to. She woke up, that's just, it's okay. Like, that's, yeah, that nothing special. So hopefully the next ones are better. The next one is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. Again, I don't know why I haven't read this book yet. I think a lot of these books actually are very popular books that I've put onto my TBR to read. Okay, so the first sentence of this book is, when people ask me what I do, taxi drivers, dental hygienists, I tell them I work in an office. Another crap opening line. Oh my goodness, have I just picked the worst books with these rubbish opening lines? See, I have an office job, so like I feel like I'm just like, oh really? You know what? I think Addie LaRue still wins that. There's a bit more mystery in there, being like, why she woke up in someone else's bed, with the time being put at the top. Does the time have some kind of significance there? So I think, yeah, Addie LaRue is still number 1, and I'll put Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine here. The next one is Verity by Colleen Hoover. Coho is an author where I've read some of her books and I've enjoyed them, and others and I've absolutely hated them. So maybe she's just like a hit or miss author for me. But I know that my friend and my sister have both read this book and they both really enjoyed it. So I am excited to read it, and I'm hoping that this will be one of her books that I do like. So the first sentence of this book is, I hear the crack of his skull before the spattering of blood reaches me. Number 1. Interesting. Death. We love it. That's actually a really good one. I like that one. That's interesting. So there's been a murder, whether it's the narrator that's done the murdering or they've walked into someone else being murdered. Either way, starts with a murder. Very promising start. The next one is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I am also excited to read this book. This one I mentioned in my 23 and 2023 actually. So yeah, I've not read Kristen Hanna either, so I'm really excited. Okay, One, again, this has like a date and time, so I will mention that, but technically it's not part of the first sentence. So it's April 9, 1995, the Oregon coast. The first sentence is, if I have learned anything in this long life of mine, it is this. In love, we find out who we want to be. In war, we find out who we are. Yo, this seems like it's going to be a book that is going to rip my heart out immediately. Just from the first sentence, I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be a difficult one. It's not as good as Verity though. Like, Verity opened with a bang. It opened with a murder. We love it. So that, I think, is still better than Addie LaRue, but not as good as Verity. We are now at the halfway point with The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I am a huge fantasy reader and I've not read Brandon Sanderson, and I think that's probably one of the worst things I've ever done. It's one of my biggest crimes as a avid book reader is the fact that I've not read Brandon Sanderson and I claim to be a fantasy fan. Okay. I'm now confused as to which part of this is the first line. Is it this up here or is it in the prologue? Let's go for both of them and I'll just pick whichever one is the best one. So the one up here is, sometimes I worry that I'm not the hero everyone thinks I am. And in the prologue one, it is ash fell from the sky. Okay. Both of those are kind of anticlimactic. Definitely these two are better than it. I'm just trying to think for these. Is it better than working in an office? Probably. Yeah. Is it better than waking up in someone else's bed? Let's put it... We'll put it better than Addie LaRue, but under the Nightingale. We'll put it smack bang in the middle. And I don't know if maybe... I'm trying to not take into consideration what I know the premise of the book is about and only go off of the first line. But I think I am slightly biased because I'm so excited to read The Final Empire. The next one is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is another one that's super hyped up on Bookstagram and Book Talk and BookTube, so I'm both excited and nervous to read this one. I've also been on a mythology kind of like, I don't know, not obsession, but I've been reading quite a lot of mythology books so far this year. I've read Mythos, Electra and Stoneblind and I've been adoring them. Like, I've been loving mythology and it's something I'd never really read before. I've read some like Roman mythology, but none that was Greek. So I'm excited to read another mythology book this year. I'm in my mythology era. Okay, so the first sentence of this book is, my father was a king and the son of kings. My father was a king and the son of kings. Immediately not really, it's not calling to me, you know. That actually, I think that might be second to last. I don't know what I've got against the start of Eleanor Orphan, it's completely fine. But it just didn't resonate with me. It just kind of like, I immediately forgot what it was apart from it mentioned something about working in an office. The next one is My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. I read my first Tessa Bailey book like a week or two ago and it happened one summer and it was super cute. It was perfect summer vibes and I think that this will also be perfect summer vibes. It is a spicy murder mystery, so that sounds pretty fun. That sounds really fun. But we're not taking that into consideration. We're only taking into consideration the first sentence. So this one is from Taylor's point of view. The first sentence is, to all the people who've called me cheap in the past, how do you like me now, jerks? Nah. When I say I don't know if I'm a huge fan of romance or not, it's when it's like lines like that. I'm just like, come on. But again, the writing in It Happened One Summer was also super cheesy. And at first it was like, I didn't like that. But then I loved it. So this is something where I think initially it'll take me a couple of pages to get into. But once I do, I reckon I'll be hooked. But it's just kind of not my cup of tea in terms of opening sentences. So you know what? I actually think that Eleanor Orphan is no longer at the bottom. right? I'm happy to move that out of the bottom, I think. Yeah. We're putting My Colour Vacation at the bottom. And to make sure that I don't embarrass myself, because the stack's getting a bit big, I'm just going to lift it up like that. I see the future and it's me somehow making it tip over. So the next one is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. Not sure if that's how you pronounce his surname actually, I've never looked it up. But this is again another hyped up book from Booksta, BookTube and BookTok, and I think this is going to be one that completely rips my heart out and I'm excited about it. The start, it has a little page here saying 7th of August 1944. I think that's quite important for context, you know, to know the year, etc. Okay, so the first sentence of the book is, "At dusk they pour from the sky." And the chapter name is Leaflets, so I'm assuming that it's leaflets that's pouring from the sky. But again, there's not really context there. I think it must be leaflets. Like, I feel like that's the only thing that would make sense, because they've used they. Maybe this is too confusing a first sentence for me to rate well. I'm picturing in my head leaflets just floating about, which... This is really hard. This is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Because now I've also forgotten what the opening line was to so many of the books. Like, I don't have them all in my head. Oh, goodness. I know that it doesn't stick out to me. You know, you didn't really stick out to me. So it's probably going to be in the bottom 4. So I can ignore those for now. That's something about being in a bed. This one was something about a king and a son of kings or something. This was about working in an office, and that was something about, like, it was cheesy. It was like, oh yeah, I'm not cheap. Right, where does this sit? I think, you know what, Eleanor Olphin, I've got something against you. I've got a vendetta against your first line. So we're going to put All the Light We Cannot See above you, but below the Song of Achilles, because it's not obvious enough, I think, what's going on in that first sentence. So the next book is Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams. This is a book I've had on my TBR for such a long time, and I got it from a charity shop. And I was so excited when I saw it in the charity shop, because I knew that I wanted to pick it up for a bit. And then I went into Oxfam Books and I saw it and I was like, oh my god, it's a sign. I need to get this book. And then it's just sat unread on my TBR for like a year. But I think maybe 2 years, I don't know. A really long time. Well, let's see. The first sentence of this book. Oh, interesting. It's got like a little speech bubble here for, I'm reckoning, like a text message or something. Yeah. So chapter 1, Queenie, in the syrups now, wish you were here. I don't know if I count that as the first sentence or this. So I'm going to read the next part of it anyway, the first actual sentence of the book as well. I locked my phone and carried on looking at the ceiling before unlocking it and sending a follow-up XX. Okay. In the syrups now, wish you were here. And then a kiss kiss added at the end. You know, I was expecting like the first lines of books, like they're meant to have like such an impact, but so many of these have been anticlimactic first line. I think that this is going to be below All the Light We Cannot See, but above Eleanor Olphin is completely fine. Again, oh no! I knew something like this was going to happen. Okay, there we go. We're getting to the last book. I'm really hoping that this ends up being number 1, because then it's just easy to put it up rather than, you know what, maybe I don't read this and just put it up there and pretend. Okay, the next book is The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton, and it has pretty sprayed edges. We love that. This was a gift from a friend, so I want to read this book because all the books that she's gave me I've absolutely loved. She got me The Starless Sea, which was the book that got me back into reading like 2.5 years ago. She got me Keeper of Enchanted Rooms, which I adored as well. Basically, she's got really good book taste and buys me books that I love. So I'm excited to read this book and I'm pretty sure I'll like it. Right. The first sentence of this book, again, it's got some context here. I'm not going to count that as the first sentence, but I'll read it out anyway. So we've got The Old Church, Amsterdam, Tuesday, 14th of January, 1687. Historical fiction, we love it. Okay. The first sentence is, the funeral is supposed to be a quiet affair, for the deceased had no friends. Love it. Immediately love it. And I swear it's not just because I want to put it up at the top. I think it's still not as good as Verity, because Verity starts off with like, I'm assuming it's a murder, because there's blood spilling from someone's head, but maybe they just fell, I don't know. But yeah, so it's not as good as Verity. The Nightingale, I might actually need to reread this first sentence to try and remember, and then know which one to put second, because you know 1, 2 and 3 are really important. So this was, if I have learned anything in this long life of mine, it is this: in love we find out who we want to be, and more we find out who we are. Oh, I really like that line actually. I forgot how much I liked that line. And then the miniaturist. Again, the funeral was supposed to be a quiet affair, for the deceased had no friends. Oh no, I like them both. Okay, which one's second, which one's third? I wish I could put them joint. Yeah, I think the Nightingale wins it. I think the Nightingale wins it. It just kind of draws my attention a bit more. Okay, so these are my final standings. And number 1, we have Verity by Colleen Hoover. 2 is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. 3 is The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. 4 is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. 5 is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. 6 is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. 7 is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. 8 is Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams. 9 is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. And 10 is My Colour Vacation by Tessa Bailey. Let me know out of these ones if your order would be the same as mine or different. I reckon I could read these again in a couple of days and my order would be different because, you know, mid-reader. But thank you so much for joining in to my rambling of books, and see you again next time. Bye!